The door creaked open like a confession I wasn't ready to hear. And there he was, Jake. My straight-as-an-arrow best friend. Shirtless and sweating from whatever pickup game he'd just dominated on the quad. His voice cutting through the humid Chicago summer air like a dare. Tyler. Man. I need you. My room's a disaster. Help me clean before my folks show up tomorrow. I froze in the hallway of our cramped off-campus house, heart slamming against my ribs. Because helping Jake had always meant more than dusting shelves. It meant stealing glances at the way his muscles flexed under ink-smeared skin, pretending my pulse didn't race every time our shoulders brushed. But this time, as he grinned that boyish, oblivious smile and pulled me inside, I knew one wrong move under those tangled sheets would unravel everything we'd built on lies and laughter. The air in Jake's room hit me like a fever dream's tale beer cans from last weekend's kegger. Posters of the Cubs curling at the edges. And that faint, musky scent of him that clung to every surface like a secret I couldn't shake. We'd been roommates since freshman year at DePaul, thrown together by some cosmic joke on the housing lottery. And in the 3 years since, I'd mastered the art of loving him from the shadows. The late-night study sessions where I'd traced the curve of his jaw with my eyes while he ranted about stats homework. The road trips to Wrigley Field where his cheers drowned out the ache in my chest. He was straight. Solidly. The kind of guy who high-fived sorority girls at parties and bragged about hookups that left me hollow. But damn if he didn't make me feel seen in ways no one else ever had. Start with the bed, he suggested, tossing me a trash bag with that easy toss of his head, oblivious to how his proximity made my skin hum. I nodded, too quick, and dove into the chaos of his unmade sheets, fingers brushing cotton that still held the warmth of his body from last night. We worked in that comfortable rhythm we'd honed over countless procrastinated assignments, him folding his hoodies with precision, him vacuuming half-heartedly while blasting Springsteen from his cracked speaker. Laughter bubbled up easy. Like always, him mocking my neat freak vibes. Me ribbing him about the mystery sock graveyard under his desk. But midway through, as I straightened the comforter, my hand snagged on something buried deep, a crumpled photo from high school. Him and his ex, arms slung around each other at prom. Her dress a splash of pink against his tux. Jealousy twisted sharp in my gut. Unbidden. And I must have lingered too long because Jake snatched it away, his face flushing under the desk lamp's glow. Old shit, he muttered, stuffing it into a drawer. But his eyes darted to mine, holding just a beat too long, like he was searching for something he couldn't name. The room felt smaller then, the air thicker, and when he bumped my hip playfully to grab the vacuum cord, watch it. Klutz, the spark between us wasn't static. It was a live wire, humming with possibility I wasn't supposed to feel. By dusk, the room gleamed, shelves aligned, floorboards visible for the first time in months, and Jake cracked open 2 IPAs from the mini fridge, clinking bottles in a toast to the world's best wingman. We collapsed onto the freshly made bed, backs against the headboard, legs stretched out like we owned the world. The beer loosened his tongue, stories spilling about his family's visit, the pressure of senior year creeping in like fog off Lake Michigan. They think I'm gonna crush med school interviews, be the golden boy forever, he said, voice dipping low, vulnerable in a way he rarely let show. I listened, heart aching, because I knew the weight he carried, the perfect son, the star quarterback, the guy who never faltered. You're more than that, Jake, I whispered, turning to face him, our knees brushing. His gaze locked on mine, blue depths swirling with something raw, unspoken. And before I could breathe, his hand found my arm, thumb tracing a slow circle that sent fire racing through me. "What if I'm not?" he murmured, so close I could taste the hops on his breath. The world narrowed to that touch, that question, and in the silence that followed, the line we'd towed for years blurred into oblivion. His lips crashed into mine like a storm breaking, tentative at first, then desperate, hands fisting in my shirt as if anchoring himself against the tide. I kissed back, pouring 3 years of hidden longing into it, tasting salt and regret and the faint sweetness of possibility. We tumbled sideways on the bed, sheets twisting around us like conspirators, his body solid and warm against mine, every inch of him a revelation I'd dreamed of in stolen moments. "Tyler," he gasped, pulling back just enough to search my face, eyes wide with a mix of terror and hunger. "I don't. I've never." But words failed him, and I silenced the doubt with another kiss, softer this time, guiding his hands to my waist, showing him it was okay to explore the uncharted. Clothes shed in a frenzy, his hoodie yanked over his head, my tee discarded like a shed skin and skin met skin. Electric, his calloused palms mapping my chest with a reverence that shattered me. Under the sheets, nothing was cleaned away. Instead, layers peeled back, exposing the boy beneath the armor, the man who'd been waiting for this permission without knowing it. We moved slow at first, breaths sinking in the dim light, his hesitance melting into curiosity, then need. I whispered encouragements, tracing the freckles across his shoulders, the scar from that skateboarding wipeout in sophomore year. Each touch a vow to cherish what he'd trusted me with. He was straight, or so we'd both believed. But here, tangled in cotton and sweat, labels dissolved like sugar in rain. His mouth found my neck, clumsy but earnest, drawing moans I couldn't stifle. And when he pressed against me, hard and unyielding, the world tilted. "Tell me if it's too much," I breathed. But he shook his head, eyes fierce. "It's everything." We crossed that threshold together, bodies joining in a rhythm born of friendship forged in fire, his gasps mingling with mine, a symphony of firsts that echoed off the walls. Release came like a wave crashing, leaving us breathless, spent, wrapped in each other as the city hummed outside. Dawn crept in through the blinds, painting stripes across his sleeping face peaceful, unguarded, the furrow between his brows smooth for the first time in months. I watched him, chest rising and falling, our legs still entwined under the sheets that now held more than dust bunnies, the scent of us, the weight of what we'd done. Panic flickered at the edges of my mind. What now? Would he wake and bolt, rewrite this as a beer-fueled mistake? But as his eyes fluttered open, meeting mine with a sleepy smile that bloomed slow and real, relief flooded me. "Morning," he murmured, hand finding mine under the covers, fingers lacing like they'd always belonged. We lay there, talking in hushed tones about nothing and everything, the fear in his voice when he admitted he'd questioned things before, buried it deep under layers of expectation. My confession of loving him since that first awkward handshake in the dorm lounge. It wasn't fireworks or fairy tales. It was messy, human. Two guys navigating a path neither had mapped. But reality intruded like a cold wind off the lake. His phone buzzed. His mom. Early as always. asking about flight times, and the spell cracked. We dressed in silence, stealing glances that spoke volumes. The room now a shrine to our shift. "We gotta talk about this," he said finally, zipping his jeans, voice steady but edged with nerves. I nodded, throat tight, because talking meant naming it, risking the friendship that had been my anchor. Breakfast was awkward burnt toast and coffee in the kitchen, his knee bumping mine under the table. A silent promise amid the clatter of dishes. When his parents arrived that afternoon, all hugs and small talk about grad school prospects. I played the role of the platonic roommate, laughing at their jokes, helping unload suitcases. But under it all, Jake's eyes found mine across the room, a shared secret sparking like embers. The visit dragged dinners at Giordano's, where his dad grilled him on MCAT scores. Family walks along the lakefront, where his mom fussed over his bachelor mess. I tagged along. The third wheel turned confident. But each night, after they retired to the guest room, Jake slipped into my space, door clicking shut like a vow. We'd talk until the sky lightened, bodies close but chaste, hands brushing as we dissected the fear, his dread of disappointing his conservative folks. The whispers in the locker room if word got out. My terror of losing him to denial. I'm not straight, Ty, he admitted one midnight. Head on my pillow, voice breaking. Or maybe I am, but with you. It's different. Real. Tears stung my eyes, and I pulled him close, our hearts beating in tandem against the uncertainty. Yet cracks formed. A week later, at a house party thrown by our lacrosse buddies, the beer flowed, and so did the flirtations, girls circling Jake like moths, him playing along with that easy charm. I nursed a solo cup in the corner, jealousy coiling tight as he danced with a brunette, her hands on his waist. When he caught my eye, guilt flashed, but he didn't pull away. And later, in the bathroom haze of pot smoke, he cornered me. It's just acting, man. For them. His kiss was fierce, apologetic, but it tasted like ash. The next day, he ghosted texts unread. Excuses about study groups, and the silence carved me hollow. I wandered campus alone, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot like brittle promises, wondering if I'd pushed too far, if the sheets had trapped us in a moment we'd never escape. Desperation drove me to his door that Friday night, rain lashing the windows like accusations. He answered shirtless again, hair damp from a shower. I shadowed. Ty, I can't, he started. But I cut him off. Words tumbling raw, how he'd wrecked me. How loving him was both salvation and sentence. He deflated, pulling me inside, and we crashed onto the bed, not in passion, but collapse, sobs racking us both. I'm scared, he confessed, face buried in my neck. Of them finding out, of losing who I thought I was. But losing you, that's worse. We held on through the storm, thunder rumbling like the turmoil in our souls. And in that vulnerability, resolve hardened. No more hiding. The coming out was a gauntlet. First to his team locker room, tension thick as he stammered the truth over post-practice beers, expecting backlash. Instead, half the guys clapped his back, sharing their own stories of brothers, cousins. The rest nodded, uneasy but loyal. You're still Jake, one muttered, and the weight lifted a fraction. His parents were the inferno dinner at their suburban Oak Park home. Roast chicken turning to stone in my throat as he gripped my hand under the table. Mom. Dad. Tyler's more than my friend. He's my everything. Silence stretched. His mother's fork clattering. Father's face a mask of shock. Questions flew in. How? Why us? And tears flowed. But beneath the hurt, a tentative bridge, we love you. Son. Just. Give us time. It wasn't acceptance wrapped in rainbows. It was the gritty start of understanding. Human and hard-won. Months blurred into a rhythm of us-study dates turning intimate. Road trips where we'd pull over on deserted highways. Making love under star-pricked skies. Jake bloomed, shedding the straitjacket of expectation. Volunteering at the Campus Pride Center. His laugh freer. Touch bolder. I found strength in his mirror. My own doubts fading as he chose me. Day by day. But trials lingered, a homophobic slur from a drunk alum at homecoming. Testing our bond. Family holidays strained with sideways glances. Yet laced with progress his sister's quiet allyship. A shared beer with his dad watching the Bears. Through it all, the sheets remained our sanctuary. Not for hiding, but healing reminders that love doesn't clean away the mess. It thrives in it. One crisp spring evening, as cherry blossoms dusted the quad, Jake dropped to one knee amid a picnic we'd packed PB and JS and cheap wine. The works. Tyler Hayes, he said, ring glinting simple silver. You turn my world upside down, and I wouldn't trade the chaos for anything. Marry me. Laughter and yes mingled with tears. Our friends erupting in cheers from the shadows they'd orchestrated. It wasn't perfect, the world still spun with judgments. Doubts lingering like old stains but in each other's arms. We were whole. Under those sheets, we'd found not erasure, but emergence, two men, forged in friendship, loving fiercely, proving that the heart's truth outlasts any label. The wedding was small. Backyard affair and his parents' yard string lights twinkling against the oaks. His mom dabbing eyes as she walked him down the aisle. My chosen family from the theater club filling seats with whoops. Vows exchanged under a floral arch. His voice steady. I promise to show up. Messy and all. Because you make the straight lines of my life curve into something beautiful. Mine trembled. You've been my hook. My haven, I'll love you through every unmade bed. Rings slid on. Kisses sealed it. And as we danced slow under the stars, the world felt vast. Kind. We'd cleaned nothing under those sheets. But we'd built everything, a love story etched in vulnerability. A testament that courage blooms from the courage to ask for help. Years later, in our cozy Logan Square apartment, walls lined with photos of road trips. His scrubs draped over a chair after long shifts, we'd reminisce. Tangled in fresh linens. His head on my chest. Remember that first clean? He'd tease. Fingers tracing my wedding band. I'd laugh. Pulling him closer. Best mess I ever made. And in those quiet nights, with the city sighing outside, we'd know the truth. Love doesn't tidy the chaos. It dances in it. Wild and unapologetic. Turning strangers into soulmates. One rumpled sheet at a time. The echo of our vows lingered like the aftertaste of wedding cake. Sweet and fleeting. As Jake and I navigated the honeymoon haze back to reality boxes unpacked in our new place. his med school grind kicking in with a vengeance. Chicago winters bit harder that year. Wind howling off the lake like unresolved ghosts. But we faced it bundled together, me directing a community play at the local theater. Him pulling doubles at the hospital. Nights were our refuge. Bodies colliding in exhaustion-fueled passion. Whispers of "I got you" cutting through the fatigue. Yet doubt crept in subtle. A shadow at the edges text from old teammates asking if he'd gone full rainbow. His hesitation before pride events. The way his hand tensed in mine during family calls. "It's nothing," he'd say, kissing my temple. But I saw the fracture lines. The boy still wrestling with the man. One February blizzard trapped us inside. Power flickering as snow piled high against the windows. We lit candles. Played old vinyl Springsteen crooning about highways and heartaches and talked deep into the storm. Sometimes I missed the simplicity, he admitted, voice muffled against my shoulder. Not you never you but the not thinking about it part. My heart clenched, but I held him tighter. Sharing my own scars, the rejection from my uncle years back. The isolation of coming out in high school. We're in the mess together, I said. And we made love slow. Deliberate. Reclaiming the space between us. Morning brought plows and clarity. He signed up for a queer support group at the hospital. His shoulders easing with each shared story. Spring thawed the ice. Blooming with possibility of promotion for me at the theater. Jake acing his boards. We threw a housewarming. Friends spilling onto our fire escape with craft beers and tales. His sister brought her girlfriend. Their easy affection a mirror to ours. And for the first time, his dad's toast rang genuine, to family. However it grows. Laughter echoed late. But as guests thinned, Jake pulled me aside in the kitchen. Eyes shining. Thesusit's home. We christened the counter that night. Breathless and bold. The city lights winking approval. Summer sizzled. Road trip calling like an old flame. We piled into the truck. Heading south to Nashville honky-tonks and hot chicken. His hand on my thigh as we sang off-key to the radio. One night in a roadside motel. Neon buzzing outside. He traced my tattoos with reverent fingers. You're my anchor. Ty. In all this noise, we explored each other anew. Laughter mingling with moans. The sheets a canvas for our evolving art. Back home, fall painted the streets gold. And with it came challenge, a patient at the ER. Bigoted rant under painkillers. Testing Jake's resolve. He walked out shaking, but called me from the parking lot. Voice fierce. I stood up for us. Pride swelled in me. And that weekend, we volunteered at the festival. Rainbow flags waving like banners of belonging. But autumn winds carried whisper a colleague's raised brow at our matching rings. Jake's flinched during a team dinner when someone joked about straight allies. Tension simmered, boiling over one crisp evening after a Bears loss. Why do you pull away? I confronted. Words sharp in our living room. He paced, frustration etching his face. Because it's still hard. Okay. I love you. But the world's not all parades. Hurt flared. But we stripped bare not just clothes, but defense stocking until dawn. Apologies woven with affirmations. We'll fight for this, he vowed. And we did. Therapy sessions bridging gaps. His hand in mine a steady flame. Winter circled back. Softer this time. With holiday lights strung across our block. His family gathered awkward at first, but his mom's pie recipe shared over wine. His dad's quiet question about grandkids met with our honest maybe. New Year's Eve. Fireworks bursting over the lake. We toasted to resilience. Bodies swaying close to us. He murmured. And under starlit sheets, we renewed our promises. Love a fire that warmed the coldest nights. As the new year dawned, so did dreams defer. Jake's residency match, landing him in Boston for a surgical fellowship. A gut punch that left us staring at acceptance letters like indictments. 6 months, he said, voice cracking over takeout Thai. Then I'm back. But distance loomed like a chasm, and I packed his bags with leaden hands, each fold a farewell. The airport goodbye was agony, his arms crushing me, lips fierce against mine in the terminal throng. Whispers of call every night, hanging in the recycled air. Chicago felt emptier without him. My bed a vast, cold expanse. Theater rehearsals a blur of lines I delivered on autopilot. Video calls bridged the miles, at first his face pixelated but beloved. Stories of snow-swept wards and late-night cramming. My updates on auditions and the cat we'd adopted on impulse. A tabby named Sheets for irony's sake. Laughter sustained us. But longing gnawed, his touch a ghost on my skin. Nights spent scrolling old photos. Heart aching for the weight of him. A weekend visit shattered the illusion, flying east. Him scooping me from Logan in a borrowed coat. Our hotel room a whirlwind of reunion. Missed this, he growled. Hands everywhere. Bodies reconnecting with urgent grace. We wandered Boston's cobbled streets hand in hand. Freedom Trail turning intimate. His fingers laced with mine, defying the chill stares. Yet cracks widened. Weeks stretched. Calls shortening as his shifts lengthened. Sorry. Thai. Code blue, leaving me adrift in silence. Insecurity bloomed. Was he slipping back into straight solitude? Old habits whispering temptations. A late-night voicemail. Slurred from exhaustion. Eased it. You're my North Star. Babe. Don't forget. I clung to that. Throwing myself into work, a lead in a queer indie film. Scenes that channeled our story. Cathartic and raw. Spring teased with visits. Him surprising me for my birthday. Cake smeared on sheets in a fit of joy. Me crashing his rotation party. Dancing under string lights as colleagues toasted our power couple vibe. But pressure mounted as mentors offhand, settled down with a nice girl. Drawing blood. Jake's silence after a pointed family query about kids. We're enough. I reminded him on a rainy Boston common bench. Rain mingling with tears. He nodded, pulling me close. Always. Summer sweltered. Separation of forge. We planned to escape 2 weeks in Provincetown. The gay Mecca, where rainbow flags fluttered like welcomes. Beaches beckoned. Bodies bronzed and bare. Nights alive with drag shows and drum circles. One sunset dune walk. Waves lapping our toes. He dropped a bombshell. I'm transferring back early. Can't do this without you. Elation surged. And we made love under a blanket of stars. The ocean's roar our witness. Fall welcomed him home with fanfare, friends barbecue. His arms around me like he'd never left. But reintegration stung, jet lag morphing to adjustment. His grumpiness clashing with my routines. Arguments flared over dishes. Over his late nights, but we learned. Apologies sweet as reconciliation. Sheets rumpled with makeup passion. Winter wrapped us cozy. Holidays harmonious, his parents gifting us a framed photo from the wedding. His sister's toast to love that bends but never breaks. New Year's found us on our fire escape. Champagne bubbling. Resolutions whispered, more adventures. Deeper talks. To the mess that made us, he said. And as midnight chimed, our kiss sealed the year. Love a beacon against the dark. The rhythm of us deepened with the years. Jake's practice blooming into a bustling clinic in Wicker Park, patients praising his gentle hands. Me directing off-Broadway hits that toured the heartland. We adopted a rescue dog. A scruffy mutt named Hook for that first fateful knock. His wagging tail a reminder of serendipity. Mornings blurred into coffee kisses. Evenings into shared suppers. But beneath the domestic bliss, currents stirred, whispers of family. The tick of biology's clock. It started subtly, fertility pamphlet slipped into his medical journals. His gaze lingering on playgrounds during park runs. Ever think about it? He asked one autumn afternoon. Leaves swirling as we tossed a frisbee. My heart stuttered. I'd buried those thoughts under career fires. But his eyes held hope. Vulnerable. Yeah, I admitted. But the how? Surrogacy. Adoption. Conversations unfurled over wine-soaked nights. Fears aired, his dread of genetic unknowns. My anxiety over societal side-eyes. We dove in. Consultations with lawyers and agencies. Hands clasped across cold tables. Winter brought the matcha surrogate named Lena. Fierce and funny. Her story mirroring ours in quiet strength. IVF cycles tested hormone swings. Needle pricks. The ache of negative tests, but we leaned in. Jake's scrubs stained with my tears. My scripts abandoned for bedside vigils. Positive lines appeared like miracles. Ultrasound heartbeats thundering our triumph. Pregnancy wove us tighter, Lena's appointments a trio of anticipation. Baby kicks under our palms a promise. Spring swelled with her belly and our nerves. We prepped the nursery. Blues and greens neutral as our dreams. Showers rained gifts, friends' onesies embroidered with rainbows. His mom's quilt stitched with love. But shadows loomed, a colleague's hushed, who's the real dad? Slicing Jake. My own panic in delivery room simulations. We're both. He affirmed. Voice steel. And we therapy dove deeper. Fortifying our foundation. Summer crowned with Birdha Boy. Wailing into dawn light at Northwestern. Tiny fists flailing like victors. We named him River. For the currents that carried us here. His cries echoing our first shared breaths. Nights blurred into feeds and folds. Exhaustion a shared badge, Jake rocking him through colic. Me singing lullabies from old plays. Love multiplied. Fierce and fractal. His first smile a sunrise after storm. Fall tested the idle, sleepless debates over paternity leave. Sideways glances at playgroups where mommy reigned. But allies emerged, Lena's visits warm with wisdom. His sister's playdates bridging gaps. Holidays glow Driver's first tree. Lights dancing in his eyes. His grandparents cooing acceptance. Winter whispered growth. As snow fell soft, we watched him crawl toward us. Hearts full. We did this. Jake murmured. River between us on the rug. And in that circle, love proved boundless, not cleaned, but cultivated. Roots deep in the soil of our choosing. River's toddler tantrums tested our tandem like never before as Whale's piercing, quiet mornings. Tiny hands smearing paint across walls we'd just repainted. Jake thrived in the chaos, his pediatric rounds sharpening his dad instincts, while I juggled rehearsals with daycare drop-offs. Scripts recited over sippy cups. Laughter laced the lunacy, bath times devolving into splash wars. Bedtime stories improvised with dramatic flair. But cracks spiderwebbed resentments bubbling when my late calls clashed with his early shifts. Exhaustion fraying patience. One stormy spring evening. River's fever spiked. ER lights blurring as Jake triaged, his hand steady on our son's brow. "He's okay," he assured, voice calm but eyes haunted. And in the waiting room hush, I held him as tremors shook loose the fear. Homeward. We collapsed. River bundled between. Whispers weaving vows anew, no matter the storm. We're the shelter. Summer escaped to the Wisconsin Dells cabin by the lake. River's giggles echoing off water slides. Our night stolen for stargazed intimacy. Remember our first trip? Jake teased. Body slick under tent canvas. And we rekindled. Slow and sure. Love a flame fanned by time. Fall ushered school jitters his first day. Backpack dwarfing his frame. Our kisses lingering at the gate. PDA meetings unearthed by a CISA dad's off-color joke about two dads. Met with Jake's measured retort. My follow-up email sparking dialogue. We advocated quiet. Story hours at the library featuring books like ours. River's pride beaming as he declared, "My daddy's." Winter's holidays harmonized River's wonder at lights. His grandparents' gifts wrapped in evolving ease. Toasts to family redefined. But deeper currents stirred Jake's restlessness. A sabbatical itch for mission work abroad. My own pull toward a West Coast production. Debates danced through blizzard's pros of adventure. Cons of uprooting. We're a team, I said. And we compromised. A month in Haiti with Doctors Without Borders. Me freelancing remotely. River in tow with a nanny ally. Packing pulsed excitement. Airport hugs from loved ones a launchpad. The island heat enveloped clinics, bustling. River charming locals with toothy grins. Jake shone. Stitching wounds and stories. His nights debriefing in my arms. Sweat slick and soul bared. Challenges crashed, language barriers. A bout of travelers' tummy sidelining us. Cultural clashes testing tolerance. But triumphs tempered River's first Creole words. A village feast honoring our healing hands. Return brought reinvigoration. Jake's practice infused with global grit. My play infused with island rhythms. River's tales captivating preschool. Spring bloomed collaborative, co-authoring a children's book on diverse families. Launches met with acclaim. Summer solidified park picnics. His laughter a melody. And as fireflies danced, we knew love's not static. It's a journey. Messy miles making us mightier. Adolescence ambushed like a plot twist. River at 12. Lanky limbs and brooding silences. His room a fortress of banned posters and locked diaries. We navigated teen terrain gingerly. First crushes confessed over awkward dinners. Jake's dad talks laced with his own coming out echoes. My theater invites pulling him into spotlights he shunned. Pride swelled at his alley ship school GSA meetings. Essays on identity earning A's and applause. But tempests brewed, a bully slur in the halls. River's fists clenched. our hearts breaking as we coached composure over retaliation. Words wound, but walking tall heals, Jake said, and we lawyered up. Principal meetings, forging policy change. Nights after, river curled between us. Vulnerability a bridge. Summer sojourn to California. Me plays run in LA. Him interning at a queer youth center. River surfing waves and souls. Bonfire beaches birthed bonds. His first kiss under Pacific stars. Shy report over Esmores. Our cheers tempered with be safe. Be you. Falls fractures. Jake's clinic merger sparking over time. My tour extending. River's rebellion flaring in skipped classes. Arguments ignited, you're never here. His slam echoing. Our guilt a shared shroud. Family therapy threaded us back. Exercises unearthing roots. Jake's fear of failure. My chase for validation. River's ache for undivided us. Winter wove repair holiday hikes in the Smokies. Snowballs softening edges. Resolutions rooted in presence. Spring sparked synergy, a family podcast on LGBTQ+ journeys. River's voice gaining ground. Downloads dwarfing dreams. Yet shadows shifted his high school crush, turning complicated. A bi-curious exploration Jake and I navigated with nuance. Resources shared. Doors open. Love's a spectrum. I affirmed. And his nod. Tear-tracked. Trusted. Summer sword camp counseling gig for him. Our volunteer stint at Pride. Floats waving with his artwork. Evenings on the porch. Fireflies flickering. Stories swapped like treasures. Fall fortified college apps looming. His essays raw with our influence. Acceptance letters rained. NYU's theater program a nod to my legacy. His grin wide as horizons. Winter's warmth, graduation galas. Caps tossed to cheers. Our speeches succinct, chase truth. Embrace tribe. And as confetti fell, River hugged fierce, you showed me how. Empty nest echoed hollow river off to dorms. Our home a husk of half-eaten breakfasts and echoes. Jake and I circled each other. Rediscovering rhythms, date nights at old haunts. His hand in mine across Lincoln Park benches. Whispers of what now? Laced with liberty. We chased Horizon sabbatical in Europe. Cobblestones underfoot in Paris. Sane kisses reigniting sparks. Venice gondolas glided us through canals. His proposal renewal ring slipping on anew. Vows whispered in Italian twilight. Back stateside. Reinvention bloomed. Jake's nonprofit for queer health equity. My memoir pen on our saga. Pages pulsing with heart. Book tours twinned us. Audiences leaning in. Tears and toasts mirroring our milestones. Challenges chased. A health scare is routine check, flagging anomalies. Biopsies blurring days in worry. Waiting rooms wove us tighter. His humor a shield. If I go, haunt you with bad puns. Benign results broke dawn. Embrace is eternal. Summer sojourns with River NYC visits. Broadway matinees. His pride in our panels a pinnacle. You built this, he said. Arms slung casual. And our chests swelled. Fall's fervor, nonprofit gala. Donors dazzled by tales. His speech soaring, love heals. Let's spread it. Accolades flowed. But quieter joys, anniversary getaway to that first Chicago motel. Neon nostalgia. Sheets sacred. Winter wrapped wisdom holidays hosting his crew. Laughter layering legacies. Rivers announcement a partner. NB an electric spark joy. Our welcome warm as embers. Spring stirred legacy, mentoring programs. Our story scripted for schools. Ripples reaching realms. Jake's clinic expanded. My plays produced profoundly. Summer's serenity, lake house retreats. Paddles slicing silence. Sunsets sealing souls. Still my best mess. He quipped. And laughter lapped waves. Through it. Love layered not linear. But lush. Every wrinkle a testament. Silver threads wove our hair as decades danced rivers wedding a whirlwind of vows exchanged under oaks. His spouse's hand and ours a circle closed. Grandkids toddled in tow. Then 3 tiny tyrants tugging heartstrings. Jake's lapped their throne. My stories their spells. Clinic crowning, his directorship. Honors heaped for equity strides. Retirement whispers warded off by passion's pull. My canon grew Pulitzers for plays plumbing pains. Audiences altered. Trials tempered, mobilities creep. Joints creaking like old doors. But adaptations embraced walks with canes synced. Travels tempered to triumphs. A fall one icy dawn. His hip fracturing. Hospital haze haunting. But rehab rallied us. His grin defiant. Can't keep this cowboy down. Summer sanctuaries. Family reunions at the Dells. Grandkids' squeals syncing with memories. Jake's tales timeless. Fall's reflection. Memoir sequel. Reflections raw. Launches laced with legacy. Rivers book. Inspired. Sword shelves. Winter's wisdom. Holidays haloed in hearthglow. Toasts to tenacity. Jake's quiet query regrets. Met my fervent no, every sheet. Every storm. Shaped our symphony. Spring spark a cruise. Caribbean calm. Decks danced under moons. His arm my anchor. Love's language unspoken. Yet time's tide tug at a diagnosis. Slow but sure. His heart's falter flagged. Consults cascaded. Treatments trialed. Our hands clasped constant. Fight with me. He urged. And we did trials. Transplants teased. Family flocking. Summer's solace, porch vigils. Sunset savored. Grandkids' giggles grace. River's eulogy practiced in jest. But tears traced truths. Fall's farewell loomed hospice hushed. His bed our bower. Story spun soft. You clean my soul. He whispered. Fingers frail in mine. Winter waned. Dawn broke without him. Silence shattering. Grief galed. But grace grew his notes nested in drawers. Love letters lingering. Spring stirred survival, memorials moving. His nonprofit perpetuated. My plays premiered in tribute. Rivers embrace, he lives in us. Seasons cycled. My days devoted to dawn walks. His shadow strolls. Love's legacy, not loss. But light messy. Mighty. Eternal. Under those sheets. Weed woven wonder. A tapestry time couldn't tear.